Hey everyone, it's me, Kathy Hester, and I'm back to cook something else today. I know it takes a little while for things to go. Well, that's odd, and stream updated. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of talk for a few minutes and let you get kind of some time to come in because I know it's taking a while. I promised you air fryer week, however, I'm giving you potluck instead. So today we're actually going to do an Instant Pot recipe instead of an air fryer recipe, though I promise you we will do tons of air fryer recipes this month before the month's over. And don't forget too, you can take my air fryer fun class this Saturday and do some air fryer recipes there too. So I see a few people are coming on. If you're coming on, go ahead and say hi. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me what the weather's like. Hey, Jackie. It's good to see you today. So what we're going to do today is kind of some lazy not refried beans. And the recipe that I gave you a link to in the live, which will be somewhere depending on what platform you're looking at it, has a way to quick soak your beans, and B, you're going to saute onions and garlic. Today, I don't have time for that. And sometimes you're not going to have time for that either. Hi, Jenny. And Apple 369, you're in the live stream. Yay! I'm so glad that you're here. So one of my favorite foods is Mexican food. I love Indian food too. But I love beans, and it's inexpensive. So I know now in this time of the new normal, many of us are cooking over and over and over again. So this is a really good recipe to make so that you can just kind of make it. You can put leftovers in the freezer. Tonight we're going to eat refried beans over rice with some chili lime jackfruit. And then tomorrow we're either going to make something in the air fryer if all goes as planned, and with the refried beans and something else. Okay, hey Joanne. And Joanne says it's finally cold in Florida. Dun dun dun. And I want to check one thing on this recipe. Yeah, just checking. After yesterday was exciting, and you guys all hung in there so well, and I really appreciate it. Obviously, I'm casualing out tonight, and I'll talk more about my cool shirt later. Hi, Karen from San Francisco. It must be very nice there. The snow flurries lasted yesterday for a few moments, and then poof, they were gone. But it's been very, very cold today. So if the snow flurries of yesterday happened today, it would look like Christmas here. But let's see what we've got here. All right, so I have a pound of, hi Sandra, from Florida, which is neither sunny nor warm. I like that. Some days are like that, aren't they? So this is just 1 pound. Ooh, let me get that to focus in a little bit better. Sorry about that, guys. This is 1 pound of pinto beans that was soaked far more than overnight. So on plant-based-instantpot.com, there is a couple of refried bean recipes. One of them talks about if you want to make these tonight, what you can do is you could actually take your dry beans that have not been soaked, do a quick soak in your Instant Pot, and explains all the details of doing that. The old-fashioned way was to just put them on the stove in some boiling water, bring to a boil, and let them sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Just like when we do that with cashews, we put the cashews in maybe a soup while we're cooking in the Instant Pot instead of soaking it. It does the same thing. So that's one thing we're going to do. Okay, so this is 1 pound of soaked pinto beans. Let me move this in. There we go. All right, we are going to put about 3 cups of water in here. Check that. And then the one recipe, like I said, we were calling for doing some other things. I'm going to do this the easy way, and then we're going to talk about doing it the fancier cut up onion way. So when you don't feel like cutting up onions or garlic and sauteing them, there we go, then let's use onion and garlic powder. So I'm going to put about a half teaspoon Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a teaspoon of onion powder in there and a teaspoon and a half of garlic powder, or granulated. This is really granulated garlic. The only difference between the two is that one is just a little chunkier. All right. So I'm calling these ancho chilies. We're going to talk. Hi, Mary Ann. Thank you for getting two of my cookbooks. I'm glad that you enjoy them from your home in Cleveland. Excellent. So once I get these cooking, we're going to have several minutes to talk about things. So get your questions ready. We're going to talk about these dried ancho and guajillo peppers. But I also take those, dry them some more, and ground them into powders. So if I were talking to you tonight, I would just be putting some powders in. So that's what I'm going to do. So the darker one is the ancho, and the lighter one is guajillo. Both of them are mild chili. So while they look red, they're not scary like cayenne or habanero or something like that, or chipotle. And when you have them, you can smell a slight difference. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a whole teaspoon of ancho in here. Okay. I'm going to put a teaspoon of guajillo in there as well. So let me let you see that. And that is the magic in this particular refried bean. You can do all different kinds of things with them. And I'm going to set these powders to the side, and actually I spilled some. So extra in the pot. And Jackie said she keeps dried minced onion for the day she doesn't want to chop them. That is awesome. And so I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of liquid smoke. This is a liquid smoke that has no caramel coloring, and I got it on Amazon. Depending on how much you like liquid smoke, use just a couple of drops or more if you're me. That is usually too much liquid smoke for the average person. So I'm going to smell these. Now, you can still do some other things, like we could add some Mexican oregano, but I'm going to save that because I think it's just going to get overpowered. Don't have fancy chili powders or fancy chilies? Let me introduce you to chili seasoning that has chili powder, cumin, oregano, what else does this have? Garlic. Yeah, that's about it. And Trader Joe's does not have any salt, this particular blend. So if your chili powder has salt, stop right there. We don't want to put it in with the beans. There are varying reports of salt and tomatoes retard beans or not. Just don't do it. Beans are already a variable in and of themselves. Don't add tomato and salt until after the beans are cooked. It's just easier. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and put just a little bit of cumin. I think I'm going to put a half a teaspoon of cumin in here. And that'll just make it taste all dark and yummy. I'm not going to put salt in until later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my handy dandy mini spatula. I'm just going to mix this around a little bit. It doesn't really matter. It just makes me somehow feel better. And we're going to cook these for about 10 to 12 minutes. You could cook your beans from dry and cook them longer. I also tend to overcook my beans because I like them nice and creamy and fall apart consistency. And since this is the Duo Crisps air fryer, so there's no sealing it, but if we had just a plain Duo, we'd make sure we were at sealing and not venting, right? So then I am going to go ahead and put this on pressure cook. Let's do 12 minutes. I think we can, I'll do 10 minutes. And I've got to press the start button on this one. We've talked about this before, but if most Instant Pots don't have start buttons, so if that's what you're used to having, it gets a little bit something. It gives me the feels when I have to press the start button. If I didn't press the start button, nothing would happen. And that would make me sad because it's cold. We've got to come up to pressure. It's probably going to take 20 minutes-ish before I'm ready to let the pressure out of here. So therefore, I have some show and tell, and I'm welcoming any and all air fryer, Instant Pot, or slow cooker questions too. And Jackie said, what's the brand of liquid smoke? It's called Living Nutritionals Pure Liquid Smoke, and it tastes really good. And so literally the only ingredient is natural liquid smoke. And the other one I did find in the one I often use, the Colgan, it has some caramel coloring. Why are you making all that noise? I don't know why it's making all these noises. This is the one that I've only had for about a month. So we'll see. And you know what? If it doesn't work, we'll talk about some other things. We can always cook these puppies in another Instant Pot or on the induction burner. So maybe now's the time to talk about this. If you didn't have an Instant Pot, you could cook your soaked beans in the slow cooker. So you could soak them overnight, then put them in with some water in your slow cooker with all the things that we're talking about, and then just cook them and then puree them. And you can either mash them with a bean masher or puree them with an immersion blender, depending on the style that you like. If you want to put them on the stove, then you're just going to put water on them, bring it up to almost a boil, then bring it to a simmer, cover mostly, and just cook until the beans are tender. For refried beans, for Southern style beans, any creamy beans, I like to go beyond what that would be. I want it to be really smooth and creamy, like in even a refried bean and red beans. Those are usually made creamy with oil and fat, and we're trying to avoid that. And honestly, if you just overcook the beans and let them break down really good, you never notice that there's no fat in there at all. Okay, I got some questions. Love me some questions. And Joanne says, I dried my chilies and ground them up. Oh my God, so much better than what I bought in the store. I know. It's crazy. And it's cheaper. So that's one of the reasons I tell you, like, if I went to somewhere like a fancy spice store and got this much chili powder, it could be $6 or $7. A whole bag of chilies usually costs way under $5. Sometimes they're just like $3. And I'll show you how we would take them apart and to dry them. Okay, and we'll talk about that. And Mary Ann says, what appliance do I use to grind chilies to powder? So I use a coffee grinder. And let's see if, ooh, I don't know if I have all the parts and pieces, but I have the bottom. Oh, I do. I have everything but the cover, but we're not really going to grind. So I just bought an inexpensive little grinder on Amazon. I also have a spice grinder attachment for my Ninja that's more powerful. So it has 2 containers like this, and I think it was under $30. It might have been about $20. And I can try and come back and put the answers and link you to some of these things too. If you go to the link that talks about Instant Pots and go up a little bit, I have a spice class and I have all the information about this stuff. But so you can also use a coffee grinder. If you don't drink coffee anymore, that's a great way to repurpose your coffee grinder, or you can get one at a thrift store when it's safe to go back out again. Okay? If you have a coffee grinder and you're drinking coffee, some things can get a little hinky. So you want to go ahead and grind some white rice to get some of the coffee flavor out. This is not 100%. This is what I have, and this is what I have to do. You could use brown rice too. I think white rice, just because it doesn't have the bran, would pull more of the smells out or the flavors out. And then grind your spice, then follow it up again with some more white rice. And it's not going to be 100%. It's not a perfect situation. better is to get something that has 2 of these. So I have one of these that's just for spices, and one of those that could be for coffee that I'm not actually using it for. I have a dedicated coffee grinder. Okay, so it's just like this. It's really easy. And you just want to make sure that it gets ground really well. So like you guys saw the powders. Let me let you see the powder so you can kind of see what you're looking for. And Joanne said she just used her NutriBullet and it worked out just fine, so there's nothing wrong with that. And Jackie said she had the creamiest butter beans recently, and that is awesome. So you want it to be where it's fairly well grind. I like to grind things as much as possible. I like to grind, as fine as possible. And if I'm doing a spice blend, like a Cajun spice blend or a chili blend or something like that, I do tend to go ahead and put all the ingredients together and then grind them, because I find it disperses better in the recipe itself. So that's one thing. So Marianne, hopefully that helped. If not, let me know if you have some more questions. I do have a recipe for black, not refried beans in the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot. In my other book, Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking in Your Instant Pot, I have one for Mayakoba beans, which are extra, extra creamy. So, and Joanne says she's also used the coffee grinder, but the small pitcher of the NutriBullet works fine. I'm just kind of picky about some of these things, and we'll look. Some of the bags, I'm not sure if this brand. Okay, this brand does it. So not all brands. This doesn't tell you how hot or mild these are, but this one has a little thermometer, and I'll let you see that on the overhead. So see, mild. So if you're unfamiliar with these and you just kind of want to experiment, also, this is not always true, but usually the smaller the peppers, the more they hurt. So there is some in-betweens in that, but Ancho and guajillo are both pretty mild chilies. Every once in a while, you might get a little bit of a zinger in there, but when you get them dry, they are also not crispy. See how that's pliable? Even this one is pliable. That's why we have to use like a dehydrator. Actually, let me just move this guy out of the way. We want to use a dehydrator to get it super crisp, so that when we put those blades on there, it's going to really, really just kind of cut it up well. So I use my kitchen scissors, and you guys know by now the difference between regular scissors and kitchen scissors is you could lick your kitchen scissors should you choose or want to at any given time. And what that means is kitchen scissors are hidden from the rest of the family who would open packages, boxes, and anything else. This should be something that you're okay cutting herbs with or cutting these with. You don't have to sterilize them. They just stay clean and sterile all the time. And it may seem not that important, but it kind of is. So I'm going to cut the top of this one off. And we've got seeds in here because it's just a whole dried pepper. And then a lot of times, sometimes it'll tear. Sometimes I'll just take my kitchen scissors and get in here and cut. It just depends on how easy they are. Also, sometimes they are more stuck together than others. See, there goes a piece. I'm just going to take that off. Then we want to get the seeds out and the ribs. And the ribs just come out like that. See, it's really easy. And these are typically drier and less fleshy peppers. You're going to see a difference between it and the ancho. And then when I'm dehydrating it, depending on how long I want to dehydrate them, I might just tear it up like that, or I might even go ahead and cut it into small pieces like the one that came off. So I might cut it like this. And that just cuts my time in the dehydrator. And you can use any kind of dehydrator. I usually use my Breville toaster oven air. So see, we could just cut that in. And what happens, and let's talk about this, when we put this, ooh, there's another little rib. It's not the end of the world if you miss one, but I want to make sure that you can see them. So what happens here is you can put this into something you're going to puree. So this is how a lot of sauces are made, like rojo sauce and things like that. So the chili peppers are rehydrated in warm water and then pureed into a sauce. And the smells and the flavors of these things are off the chart. So if I wasn't being lazy, what I would have done is this, put it in 2 pieces, thrown it in the beans, let it cook, because I'm going to puree everything together. So it just makes this rich, yummy flavor. Plus, I knew I was going to need to buy some time for this thing to come up to pressure. So I thought, let's just do that, and then we'll talk about the peppers later. And Jackie says, do I toast them before I grind them or just dehydrate? That is a really good point. A lot of times, before I put them in a sauce, I will toast them and then cook them. With the refried beans, I'm lazy and I just throw them in there. If I'm putting them in the dehydrator, they're really getting fairly warm anyhow, so I'm not worried about them dehydrating because they're so crispy. I feel like that's kind of activated the oils in the peppers. And just like if we were cooking spices, you know, if we saute a spice like cumin, coriander, something like that, it goes from smelling like powder to smelling really, really, really fragrant. And I find that they become incredibly fragrant while they're in the dehydrator. In fact, Cheryl hates it when I'm making them and would rather me put it outside. So that's another reason why now I cut mine into small pieces so it can dehydrate overnight really easily. And I want them to... It's close. It's close. Everybody hold your breath. No, just kidding. And that's a good question. Jackie also says, do I keep the seeds for red chili flakes? And I don't, but I probably should. There we go. Haha, the countdown will start soon. So, but yeah, you totally could do, you could keep the seeds on these are not that hot. So the seeds do have a lot of heat in some chilies. So I tend to take them out. Cheryl doesn't like hot food. I like kind of medium food, but medium food tastes like fiery Thai hot to Cheryl. So that changes how I do things too. Okay. So now this was the guajillo and this is the ancho. And to me, it looks like a big giant raisin. And sometimes I'll just cut this part off, but let's see if we can get in here. So I'm just going to try and cut that. Get in here. And sometimes these can be really sticky because they're usually a fleshier pepper. And you can, like I said, you could use a knife and tear it. Oh, actually, this one's kind of, actually you can see a little bit of it. Good. Okay. It's like maybe I need a different one. So you can kind of see that it's much thicker. And you can see that the seeds aren't just falling out. They're a little more stuck in there. Okay? And then you can just take this part out. See, and right there, let's see if you guys can see that. Can you see where it's kind of shiny right there? I know it's a little hard to see. But that is where there's still... I almost think of it like resin on a tree. I'm sure it has a different word, but it's kind of like that sticky. See how that's sticking in there? And I do find that ancho chilies require more time to dry. Let me grab this. And there you go. So you can kind of see that. And if we look at it kind of to the side, you can see the difference in thickness, hopefully. Let's see. There we go. That's a little bit better. And Joanne says sometimes she toasts them, sometimes she doesn't. Living on the edge, the way we all like to live. And Jackie says, which do I find milder, ancho or guajillo? And every once in a while, I'll get an ancho that's got a little bit of kick, but very, very rarely. They really should be on the milder side. Here, let me put a seed in my mouth and see what happens. I'll take a guajillo seed. It's got a little heat, but I'm not coughing or crying or anything. I can feel it on my tongue, a little bit of spice. Okay, ancho seed. I love that really dark tone. In this case today, the ancho is definitely milder. But you should be able to use either one, really, because I just put the hottest thing of this pepper in my mouth, and I'm fine. And I'm queen of making my jalapeno powder and inhaling it and coughing. I love to do that in demos, especially, evidently. It seems to be my specialty. Oh, look. Can I do anything from here? I think I have to, we have a troll, you guys. I got to come in here and find the troll so I can get them out. Let's see how I do that. I think I can do it from here. Nope. Okay. Sorry, guys, we have a troll, but it's not too bad. Just don't go to whatever bigfollows.com is. I am actually trying to stream on Twitch because why not try out all the platforms and have all the things go wrong the next couple weeks and just have it all done with? That's how I'm feeling. So, but like an enchilada sauce is made with dried chilies. A rojo sauce is made with dried chilies. A mole sauce. So if you take that part that understands that and kind of take it and go, I could put it into a soup I'm going to puree. Or I could put it into something, I could put it in with some other things and tomatoes and puree it up and make my own sauce, however I like it. So there's different ways that you can do it. So you either want to toast them, dehydrate, or reconstitute them though if you're going to use them. Okay? Because if you just cut this up and like use it like a sun-dried tomato, you could, but I don't think it would be a good use of its life. Oh, good. So the troll isn't on it. Only the people watching Twitch would see it. Thank you. Learning curve done. 6 more minutes. Before this is done, I think I have a little while longer before my rice is done. So a few things you can do with refried beans. Also, that's a clue that you can ask me questions. And actually, I'll give you a second. I'm going to throw this out so I can save all those yummy pepper parts. And maybe while some things are air frying tomorrow, I will make a sauce to go on top of it. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do a chimichanga or a crunch wrap or something like that because I got some good gluten-free tortillas to try. Tonight, we're going to use some of this chili lime jackfruit. I do have a recipe on Plant-Based Instant Pot to make this, but this is a lazy day. So I do love Upton's. All their stuff is vegan. Everything they do is not gluten-free. They do a lot of seitan, but their seitan is really good. I just can't have it. They even have a picture of a jackfruit. But I love their packaging and how cute their logos are and things. Okay, how is it only 1 minute went by? It felt like 10 minutes should have gone by. Okay, so let's talk about a few other things we could do. Tacos, right? You could do tacos, tostadas, quesadillas. refried beans freeze well, so I always do a pound of beans when I'm doing it. These actually are super fancy beans from Rancho Gordo. They're still pinto beans, but they're Rancho Gordo pinto beans. If you don't know Rancho Gordo, they do a lot of heirloom beans and work really hard to save some beans that could kind of go into extinction. And it's really fun to kind of open up their box and see what's there. So I'm in the Rancho Gordo Bean Club. I think the waiting list is really long, like 2 years long. So if you ever want to get in, you might want to try. I can't remember if Joanne or Jackie, somebody just got in recently that had been on the list for a very, very long time. And there's all kinds of cool beans, and I'll probably do an unboxing because I've had my quarterly box that I haven't even broken the seal on. But you can use the cheapest pinto beans you can find. And in fact, if you have a Hispanic supermarket near you, you're going to find really inexpensive chilies, and they're giant tables with these things just piled high. And I'm the crazy lady going, is that one spicy? I'm always pulling somebody over. I haven't heard of this one. What does this one do? But they have all kinds of fresh peppers and jalapenos and habaneros, all the things, and limes and cilantro and mayacoba beans really inexpensively. You can get masa. You can get organic masa. You can get blue masa, so making your own tortillas and things. You can get arepa flour. There's so much to see at the Hispanic supermarket, and they have also a lot of inexpensive herbs and spices there too. And Jackie still hasn't been able to get in the Bean Club. And Apple 369 likes making deconstructed burrito bakes. I am intrigued. Kind of like a lasagna using corn tortillas for the noodles and burrito fillings. And I think I call that cheater enchilada casserole or something like that. So I do that. So I'll take a pan, put some either salsa or enchilada sauce, and put some corn tortillas around, spread some beans, either spread some refried beans, but you could also just use canned or cooked whole black beans, pinto beans. You could do some sauteed onions and peppers. Oh my goodness, there's so many things you could do. You can make like a tofu sour cream to put in there, or a cashew cream. I like how you think, Apple. I do. That sounds yummy, because we're going to have enough refried beans to do a lot with, because there's 2 of us. So it would take us a long time to eat these with tacos. Like it would take us forever. But if you're doing a burrito or like a bowl, and honestly, sometimes if I'm just having a bad day, a bowl of refried beans with like some chopped cilantro, salsa verde on top, maybe a dollop of vegan fat-free sour cream. Yum, yum. So tell me what some of the things you guys do with refried beans, or what some of your favorite bean recipes are, because I want to know. I like that. Apple says, I like how you think too. I know. And Apple's been wanting me to go live on YouTube while on Facebook, which is why last week I started streaming on Restream, which is putting me all the places at the same time. So it's an experiment, and I'll see what happens. That went by better than I thought. Oh, and Rob wants to know, what is the appliance behind you and to your right? That is the Breville Toaster Oven Air. So it's like the biggest air fryer, but that is where I dehydrate my chili. So it has a dehydration function, baking, air frying, toasting, pizza. I got to read all these. Broil, proof. You can proof bread in it. Cookies, slow cook. Why would I slow cook in there though? So I haven't done that. So we will actually use this at some point in one of the air fryer recipes. I'm also thinking about maybe, if nothing else, starting to dehydrate some chilies, or dehydrate something that we can grind up. So obviously I'm not going to make you like hang out for 12 hours. It's not that interesting to watch peppers dehydrate. Even I can't do that. Joanna's in the Bean Club, and yeah, she was on the list for 2 years. And I think at some point the list was like 2,000 people long, so it's kind of crazy. Okay, so what we're going to do now, and this is a little bit of a different, let me turn on the fan, actually. Let me interrupt myself, turn on the fan, because I'm going to be opening this up while we're looking overhead. Okay. There we go. And I was just doing a segment for a plant-based summit that's coming up in January that I'll be telling you guys about sooner, about all the different Instant Pots that I have. And this one, it has a little button. Okay. Let me make sure we got this. We can see it real good. There we go. So I can just press this. And you can kind of see. And this is the equivalent of if we had one that looks like this, kind of bigger, and I just kind of. And you can still see, can you guys see here? There's some condensation. So that's a good reason to let it out a little bit slowly. If you're doing a soup, a chai, or a drink, it's even more important to do that. Oh, and Rob says he wants one of those toaster overnayers, and don't we all? They're not super cheap, but you might be able to find some sales because it's December. It's harder to find Breville things on sale, but you can find them at Bed Bath & Beyond. So see? And the way this one does, if I press it all the way down, it opens full, but I can click it here and make that stop. And Rob just got the same Instant Pot, and he loves this pressure release button. I know there's a couple of cool ones. And I think that people get nervous having their hands so close to that, but okay. It smells really good. The best part about letting the steam out is smelling all the yummy goodness. And the reason this is taking a long time is I didn't let it, usually I'm busy, I'm doing something, maybe it sits for 10 minutes, maybe it doesn't. And I'm not so worried right now about a last burst because it's really kind of coming down slower and slower, and that's why I've removed my hand. And we're getting there. And then we're going to see if check the beans and to make sure that they're done enough. Here we go. So finally released. Okay. The fan wasn't good enough for that. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of get these spices because we used a lot of dry spices, so they are kind of out and about. We want to make sure to scrape all that flavor back in. Okay. And I can tell a couple of those don't look so awesome. Like that does not look good. I'm going to get this one out because right now that's the only one I'm seeing that doesn't look like it cooked. So how can I tell? Can you guys, I don't know if you can see, but basically it looks hard like a little turtle. And it didn't really blow up anymore. The rest of these look very different, so that's why I'm only picking that one out. At first I thought I might have to cook it a little bit longer, but everybody else seems good. Some of them were split open, which is fine for my evil purposes. So here is my way of telling if the beans, oh, and Gina's late. Here, I'll give you a minute. So I'm just to be cautious, because my camera is expensive and I'm trying not to steam it up too much. I actually have a fan over to the side to help clear the steam. Also, just to show people how to release the steam in a controlled way. So whenever I release steam, I try to show you the way, and that was the equivalent. If you're doing a soup or a drink, which we're not today, you must do it that way till the end, and it takes a while. Or just chill out and let it naturally release. That is also an option. And welcome, Gina. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of these beans, put them on one spoon, okay, and I'm going to squish. Okay, and so what I'm looking for, did it split in half or did it smush? And these smushed. And that's what I want. Okay, I'm also going to taste this liquid a little bit. I'm going to add in, so I put in some onion powder and garlic powder, and we're doing a little bit different recipe than the one that I gave you the link to. Because why would you watch if I didn't do that? I'm going to put probably a half teaspoon more garlic in there. I do not want any more onion powder. I'm going to add a little more, I'm going to add a teaspoon more, so 2 teaspoons total of Ancho chili powder. But in the recipe, we would just use the whole Ancho chili, minus the seeds, ribs, and stems. I'm also going to go ahead and add a half teaspoon of guajillo chili powder. Here, I can let you look in there. That's probably more exciting. Woohoo! The excitement begins. And I think I put in just a half a teaspoon of cumin. I think I'm going to put another one in. Just doesn't taste quite right to me. And I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. Mexican oregano is a little more lemony, and it just has a different flavor a little bit. And for this, I'm going to put probably 1.5 teaspoons of salt in there. If you do not use salt, you can still make this recipe without salt. So I would encourage you to get like a little jar like this and put like equal parts garlic powder or granulated garlic, onion powder, and ground celery seed. And use that as kind of a flavor neutral salt substitute. That's a great way to do that. All right, okay. So I'm just going to mix that in a little bit. We'll taste it again in a minute. And I think for me, using the powders, I just underestimated how much really gets in there from when I pureed the whole peppers, the whole dried peppers. So I'm going to put my immersion blender in, and if we needed more water, we can add it. If these are too thin, we can cook some of the water off. Gina, I am so happy you're here too. It's good to see you. Okay, and let's see. There we go. And see how it's getting thicker? And one thing to know too, that this seems a little thin. It's still not as pureed as it needs to be yet. These are going to thicken as they cool too. So you probably don't need to make it like super thick, like from a can, before you put it in the fridge. And usually you kind of end up loosening those up anyhow. And see, I can still see some bits that aren't quite pureed yet. That's why I know I could still go a little longer. You could always put these in the blender too if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm going to taste them now to see if I guessed right or do I need more of something. I think I want some more liquid smoke in there. And you don't have to put liquid smoke in here at all. If it's not your game, just leave it out. And that's the same thing with any of this. If you hate cumin, leave it out. I'm going to actually put half a teaspoon of guajillo, and I'm going to go back and up it to 2 each, I think. Let me smell that. That is my rice cooker that's making us brown rice to go with these for the bowls. Okay, now let's taste it again. Yeah, it's good. I will say this, if we had, I don't notice as much difference from sauteing onions and garlic and using the onion powder and garlic powder because I use the powders so much, but I can tell a difference. Like it would be a little richer had I gone ahead and put that pepper in. Remember and I think Gina came in late, so I'll show you really quick one more time, is that this is an ancho chili pepper. And what we did is we took the stem, the seeds, I'm trying to say all the words at the same time. This is why I don't go live in the evenings very often. And then it looks like this. So, and what I would have done is just thrown these in with the beans and let it cook because it's going to reconstitute. Then when we're pureeing, we puree that pepper in there too. And I find that that's much more flavorful. So the changes I made tonight, I'm fine because this was make me some dinner. This wasn't, I want the best thing ever, right? And I wanted to show you guys too that just because you have a recipe, if you don't feel good or you've had a hard day, you can make it easier. It's okay, right? Sometimes we don't always get to have our absolute favorite food. Sometimes we have something a step down because it's a little easier for our lives. I know we used ancho and guajillo in these. And so you can get these at Walmart. So you can always get ancho and guajillo chilies anywhere. And it's much cheaper than buying chili powder. And so if you were, and we talked about this too, like you can make your own chili, and I say chili for the stew powder, and it usually has cumin and oregano and garlic and things like that. So if you start with your peppers, but like I really, really wish there was smell-o-vision for this, because this is my homemade ancho chili powder, and it smells like magic. And all I did was stem, seed, and rib a bunch of peppers, put them in the dehydrator till they got crispy, and grind them in a spice grinder / coffee grinder. And Joanne was saying she even used her NutriBullet, and it ground it up, just her regular small NutriBullet. So nothing like that. It's, even though it's kind of fancy in a way, it's kind of not, right? It's really accessible. Like I said, and if you're looking for an inexpensive Christmas gift that people are going to be like, oh my God, can I have some more of that on my birthday? I made chili powder for people before, and they're just like, because there's nothing like it. You know, it's so much fresher. Even at, like, I love Penzeys. I love Savory Spice Shop. I love all those places. But I will say that my chili powder is just as good, if not better, and a tenth of the price. It takes effort, but most of that effort is I'm asleep while they're dehydrating. And I like that. I like the lazy working. Okay. And Rob's saying, what kind of liquid smoke do I use? What flavor? I will use any flavor, liquid smoke, anytime. Like, I squealed like a small child when I found the liquid smoke gift set on Amazon. And there was pecan smoke and apple smoke and mesquite and hickory. And I love those. They do have caramel coloring in them, and I know some of my viewers are avoiding that. So when I saw this Living Nutritionals Pure Liquid Smoke come up, and honestly, I'm not, yeah, it's hickory. So this one is hickory. And I got this earlier this year, and it's almost gone because I love smoky flavors. But Rob, you could use any kind you wanted. I think a nice mesquite would go well. The hickory seems to go just fine too. I probably would avoid the lighter pecan and apple wood with this. And let me show you this too, because I bet some of you are like, well, those beans are looking kind of thick. Look, this is how long it took for them to get thick. And that's just on warm. So the only time you might have to change this is if you needed to eat something quickly, if you've got some super picky eaters, something like that. Oh, and I was going to talk about my shirt. So, and I forget, will you write this out? Because I just now forgot. It's like, there's a Harry Potter festival that I've been wanting to go to forever. And this year they didn't have it, obviously. And it actually says it says 2020, the year that shall not be named. And do you see the cute little mask on the kitty? On Professor McGonagall? Yes, yes. I'm just, after yesterday's exciting debacle, I decided today was a sweatpants, sweatshirt, t-shirt kind of live. I need to get back to my roots. You know? Trying to get too fancy, and then those of you that missed it, like, I blew a fuse and lost the internet and all kinds of excitement ensued. It was like a whole mini series in one live. Yeah, and so rich, and there's beans, water, and spices. Ta-da, right? And it's amazing. I think a lot of people think healthy food has to be without flavor, without texture. You know, and they think that really the only things that exist are like fat, sugar, salt. And you can get so many things. Now, I do use salt. I use it more sparingly than most. But these are just fine too with your favorite salt substitute. You could use Benson's Table Tasty. I think they have like a Southwestern blend. That would be perfect in this. Someone said they're the only person who likes beans in their house. That means you make this, and when you don't feel like making lunch for everybody else, you got tacos. So I actually would freeze these in little single-size containers or little Ziplocs or something. Because what I'll do with this is I'll put it in smaller containers, because then either Cheryl will pull it out and we'll make tacos. So, you know, 6 small tacos is not a lot of beans that you need. And then I'll have another one that's kind of burrito or taco salad size. And so I put a few in there. But I wish you could come eat with me, though. That would be nice. Oh, Beloved is here. Oh my God, you guys, they're the sweetest, sweetest women that I have had the pleasure of meeting, because I did also forget. I have to look at my calendar. It's day 8 of Vlogmas. So that's why I'm going live all week. And it's from Doc Rock and Diana Gladley. And Belove Inc. is part of the Vlogmas. And they are just so adorable. So even though I get a bonus because I get to hang out with you guys every day, which is always a plus. B, I'm meeting some really new, cool people in a super supportive community. And those of you who watch me all the time, you know how important community is to me. And so it's just really making 2020 feel a little bit better. I feel like it's ending out kind of nice. And so, yeah, so I just love the Belove Inc. women. You just have to check them out. They are just adorable. They don't do vegan food, but they do some fashion and some other stuff that's cool. So if that's your jam, hang out there. What else was I going to say? I got excited. Oh, I know what I was going to say now. What I wanted to say is, don't forget, I have a vegan community. It's a Facebook group called Vegan Recipes Cooking with Kathy Hester. And if you're not already over there, I would invite you to come. A lot of the people you're seeing their comments, like from Joanne and different people who come in, Jackie, they're all over there and they're super friendly. So if you have a question about cooking or going vegan or what to substitute or getting ideas, if I can't be over there immediately, they're all just there waiting. And it's such a supportive, wonderful group. You can be there if you're a vegan, if you're a plant-based person, if you're into Meatless Monday, you just want to learn how to make my beans, that's all good. We only talk about vegan recipes in there, vegan or plant-based recipes, but that doesn't mean you aren't invited. It's an inclusive group just like these lives. Okay, guys, do you have any questions? And here, I'll let you see these beans again, because look at that. Looks like it came out of a can, only it's going to taste better, right? And again, the most important thing when you cook anything, and I don't care if it's my recipe, your recipe, I do this with every recipe of mine, is taste it, decide if it needs to be reseasoned, because it doesn't necessarily mean the recipe's bad or something else is going on. It could be that the Mexican oregano I use today is not as strong as the one I used 2 years ago, or it's stronger, right? So we can always just add a little bit in and try some things out. Oh, that's, and B Love says, you know, the Vlogmas Challenge really helps them to connect with some really amazing channels and people too, which is, it's just awesome. It's good to be in a creator space and see, I'm seeing stuff that you guys, I have never tried to do, and that's one of the reasons I've been restreaming too, is because I'm like, I'm seeing other people do it, I'm going to try it. And now we get Gina and Apple to be able to be in on the live, which is just so wonderful. Yeah, it's a little bit of work for a great return. Exactly. And don't forget too, you can freeze this. Again, I know Joanne says that because of me, her freezer is like stocked to the gills. And if my freezer wasn't stocked to the gills, I would try to plead innocence. But, you know, the thing is when you do little things like this, or you have some soups or stews, chilies, and you have leftovers, freeze those. And then that day you're just really tired or just kind of having the winter blues, or maybe you have a cold. You've got something to eat, you just throw it, heat it up, and there you go. And so make sure that all the effort you do, like to make a pot of refried beans, pays off for you tenfold. That's really important. Jackie says it looks better than a can of refried beans. Thank you. Cheryl, when I did my oat sausage crumbles, Cheryl's like, this tastes like Totino's. So I've kind of learned to just translate into, I really like that, from some of the things that she says. I know, Gina, it's so awesome to see you and Apple here. Okay, if you don't have any other questions or comments, okay, here we go. And B Love says, I've been thinking of going vegan, so I'll definitely check out your recipes much more. Want to start off slow? That's okay. We support you where you are. You know, if Meatless Monday, you want some recipes, you just give me a shout out. I'll help you find something that fits what you like. For those of you that I may be new to, I have 10 traditionally published cookbooks. I have free recipes up at plantbasedinstantpot.com, which is all Instant Pot, and healthyslowcooking.com, which is not all slow cooking. It's my 12-year-old blog that I don't want to change the name on. So it has air fryer, stove, oven, Instant Pot. It has hot blender. It has all the recipes over in Healthy Slow Cooking. And in either one of those, up at the top or to the side, you'll see a magnifying glass, and you can search by an ingredient or a name of a recipe. And if you guys need some help switching something out, like if you were like, well, I want to make biscuits, but my grandmother's recipe uses lard, right? Or something like that, I can come up with a substitute. Hint, it's coconut oil. And that, if you're trying to do an oil-free biscuit, you can use something like pumpkin, and that can help you out a little bit too. And that's why we get freezers, to make our lives easier. Absolutely. And in fact, I overstocked my freezer so much that when Mia was working in the garden, my friends Mia and Howard have a garden, I was dropping off like meal service. And they're like, oh, this is too much. And I'm like, no, I've got to clean out the freezer. So it's good. I'd rather be ahead than behind. And Joanne's reminding us all that I am married to the queen of picky eaters. Cheryl is a picky eater. She's gotten so much better. I mean, just so much better. It's crazy. 15 years ago, it was not the same. So I'm very thankful for that. Okay, guys, I'm going to actually get off this live, go feed Cheryl because she would like that. And I think I would like that too. You guys have a wonderful day. I will, in the afternoon, probably put up what I'm making tomorrow, unless I'm making it for lunch. I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of leeway. But I will see you guys tomorrow. And thank you so much for joining me, either if you're joining me watching the replay or if you're watching the live. I really appreciate you and your support.